Well, to discuss this issue further, I'm joined by Harley Shaiken, who is the Director of the Center for Latin American Studies at Berkeley. Mr. Shaiken, thank you so much for your time. I'm going to ask you a question that you've probably been asked a few times today. What now?
Well, that's a very good question. It's an uncertain moment. The defeat was somewhere between a big surprise and a total shock. President Santos had put 4 years of very intense effort into ensuring the most stable peace possible. Half of Colombians who voted, and I'd emphasize only 38% of the eligible voters went to the polls, decided that wasn't enough. Two symbolic areas proved very important in terms of the no vote. One was the lack of jail time for senior commanders. The second was the participation in the political process. So we have a big question mark going forward.
And Mr. Shaiken, one of the things that's puzzled me most, which you've just briefly touched on there, is the 38% turnout. I find it difficult to wrap my head around the concept that such a historic referendum and only, less than half of the country voted. Why is that? Is there a lack of apathy, or what's happening there?
I think apathy may be a factor, but there are two things that really stand out. First, all polls in Colombia indicated a 2/3 majority. So many people may have felt their vote wasn't needed who were sympathetic. Second, in an area of the country, a coastal area with very strong support for the agreement, they had near hurricane winds and rain, so turnout was depressed. The combination of both, I think, led to this narrow victory for the no vote, but that doesn't really explain how almost half the country, and in this case over half, was opposed to the agreement.
And finally, Mr. Shaiken, as you say, this vote was razor thin, but the majority have voted against the FARC rebels joining Parliament. Is there a possibility that this could actually implode the situation, make it worse than before the referendum?
There is a possibility things could get worse. Right now, there's still a very guarded optimism, both on the part of the government and the FARC rebels. Neither want to go back to conflict. They're going to seek to do whatever's possible to ensure that a peace agreement is modified and then ultimately ratified. What that will take, we'll see in the coming days, if not weeks. One trouble sign is former President Uribe, who was a very strong and effective opponent to the agreement, has indicated he won't participate in the broad discussions that President Santos is seeking to convene. So we're not back to the conflict by any means, but there is a question mark and a moment of uncertainty going forward.
Harley Shaiken from Berkeley, your insight is deeply appreciated. Thank you so much for joining us.